Oh boy, boy, boy. What a day, what a day, what a day. Alright. Oh, I don't get too loud there. I'll turn that down a little bit. Anyway. Oh boy. What a day. What are we almost on the last day of March? Beautiful March. Women's History Month, apparently. I'm going to talk about that at length, I'm sure. Oh. Alright. Now I got to share. Let's see. Alright. Now, isn't that weird how I can watch myself back in time? It's very strange. I don't like that. I wonder if I wonder how many times you could do that. If you can get like a loop of yourself watching yourself, and you can keep doing it, you get like a constant stream of them. Let's see. What should I tag here? Live stream. Live. I'm sure the screen is shaking like crazy with me tapping on it. Let's see. Bullshit. Let's see. Let's try Ned Lamont. Let's see if I can get him to watch my live stream. And let's see. Let's try Ben Shapiro. No, I'm kidding. Review. We'll just do that. Why not? Who am I kidding anyway? So, as I get these sent out, I take a couple minutes just to relax. Let the music play. I've always wanted, I'm trying to finally get the right level for the music, because, I want the music to actually be heard. But just to the right level to kind of be a noise gate and kind of hide all the background noise I get from my end. I'm getting closer and closer, but of course, I had to go and start changing some of the audio settings for my Windows Media Player. I've been going through my music and trying to listen to more of the music I had on my hard drive. There's a lot of old stuff that we just... I don't know, man. Time just been flying. And if it's not something like on the radio... I don't use like Spotify. Maybe that's why. Maybe I should start using Spotify. I don't always be up to date with my music. But I had a wonderful day where my phone actually connected to my computer so I could put on a bunch of music finally. Enjoy Pursuit. So, anyway, let's get around to business here. Welcome to, what are we at? Is this like 7? I think I'm at number 7. That's my lucky number. So, this is going to be a great one. I'm going to get some beautiful, beautiful clips out of this. What's been new with me? Oh, kind of up to the same stuff. Not really too much changes on. I got some stuff in the grinder working on. I've been doing a lot of drum videos recently. Those have been easy, Too easy, but they're fun, I've been a concept I've been thinking about is don't just stop doing it because, nobody really watches those videos, which I get because they're stupid. Who really wants to watch a drum solo? But maybe build on top of that concept. Because, I've been getting a decent amount of views on my 4-man video, which, I gotta do more stuff with Frank, obviously, because kicks ass. But, like on my stuff, I'm thinking maybe more, don't do just drums. I'll try to maybe work on making it more of like a song. And then I got my keyboard. Maybe I'll try to get the bass working, and I'll start doing drum tracks, and then I'll play over them. So then I'll do like keyboards over it live and bass over it and whatnot. And start like making just improvising kind of songs, and then keep doing that, and eventually I'll just be able to bust this crap out. This is kind of the next song I have coming out. I was thinking about trying to do something like hip hop, because I got a friend who every now and again when we hang out he plays the song Guillotine. I was thinking like I should go for something a little trap inspired. So of course it's got that snare sound in it, but I haven't put out a hip hop song since The Moment, I think, last year. So I like to do 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of those a year. We'll see. But that was another one where I just sat down, decided, you know what, I'm just gonna like do a little bit of this, and then an hour here, boom, I got like a bunch of the musical parts done. An hour, 2 hours here, I got a bunch of the song done. 2 hours here, I got all the vocal recording done almost. And, once I can get down to like almost an 8-hour segment, then it's like a day's of work. Got the sip of sunshine drinking here because I'm a classy Connecticuter. Connecticutter, whatever they call us, I don't know. Let me pull that up too. All right. Which I confess is the decision I made. So let's get started. So we're going to start by talking about this movie I saw recently called The Whale. I decided to talk about it because, I think one of the, not the point, but one of the great things, well, maybe it is the point, but the point of art is to make you feel. And this movie definitely made me feel something. It's not only because I'm fat. There'll be a lot of fat jokes during this discussion probably about this movie, but there's a great Curb episode that talks about this where Jeff is blaming Larry for going to bat for this bald guy, and he's saying it's because he's bald. He's like, and you have like there's proof of like your bald preference because you have a absorbent number of bald professionals that work for you or whatever. And Larry just shoots back at him with like if he wasn't a fat guy, he would have been all over that fat guy. And it makes speaks to something in us. We can connect. I don't know, maybe on certain levels. So the movie, I guess I'll try to. It's gonna be a spoilery review. I think I'm just gonna have to do like the whole thing. Say screw it, because I don't think I can really talk about it without spoiling it. Or else if I do, it's going to be a really quick conversation. So screw it, I'm going to spoil it. Half of you, if anyone who even watches this isn't going to watch the movie anyway, so this is the point. So here we go. The movie kind of starts here with a little conversation that this instructor is having with his students, and the instructor is our main character, of course, played by Brendan Fraserman. As you can see, his camera's turned off and he's just talking to them, which is going to be a big kind of like theme or important thing about the movie. He's like a teacher. This is how he pays for all of this stuff. He's like a teacher. He's a teacher, and he doesn't really have to like leave his house to do his teaching stuff, which is those who can't do teach. So with that intro, the movie then goes on to like our first kind of scene where we really only have like 5 characters in the whole movie because this was adapted from a play, and you can really tell just kind of like how the whole movie is set and everything. So the first thing we get is Brendan Fraserman's character is doing a little exciting himself to something that he's watching, and he starts having like a heart attack or whatever, and this guy comes in who's like a what would he be? He'd be like one of those door-to-door like religious people who's trying to like convert people. And he sees Brendan Fraserman and comes in and like helps him. And while he's having this heart attack, what's gonna help him is he like tells him to start reading this essay. He starts reading this essay about Moby Dick. And this comes up a decent amount of times in the movie, but I guess the main point of the essay, even though I can't remember all of it, was basically this line from, because the essay, we find out this essay is written by his daughter, of course, that's why it's so important to him, but this line about how she found, like, anyway, she found the saddest part of the whole book was basically the chapters the author spent writing about the whale itself, describing the whale and whatever, because she felt like this was the author's way of trying to give us like a little bit of peace or something like that, or a little bit of respite from the actual the depression of like Ahab and that kind of stuff, the real thing, and like the heavy stuff. So that's why it was kind of sad, because even the author kind of recognizes that. I don't know. And as he's reading this back to him, he starts to like calm down and whatnot. And then they have a conversation. He says he's from like a certain kind of church. Brendan Fraserman's character hates that church. We find out why later. They have a little conversation, whatnot, and then he leaves. What happens next is while that's at the end of that, his Asian caretaker comes in, who's like his friend, who we find out why they're connected later, but they're friends together. She kind of like is the only reason why he's still alive. She's kind of taking care of him, even though he's got some money. She doesn't know about that. That's their kind of story arc. She tells him that his symptoms sound like congestive, like heart failure or whatever. So at the end of this, she like leaves. He gets depressed. He starts like eating, of course, because a lot of this is showing like, in my opinion, a more realistic take on fat people depression. Turning to food. They did a good job showing the amounts of food being eaten, kind of looking normal to somebody of that weight, but kind of doing a good job of showing it being in extreme amounts from our perception, which I liked. But yeah, so he looks that up on Google. It shows that he does not have very much time, if that's what he actually has, which sets the kind of not the whole thing in motion, but gives us our structure for kind of this whole story, which is, I mean, you don't find this out until later down the line. It's kind of one of the cooler parts about the movie, because my girlfriend while she was watching it was like, wait a second, what's going on here? Is he gonna make it? Like, because they're giving you days, and you're thinking like, oh, this is he gonna turn his life around? And we realize, oh, at a certain point, oh wait, he is gonna die. Like, there is no, like, realistically, like, right, there is no coming back from this, how much he weighs and that kind of stuff. So this is what kind of kicks off some of the stuff, because he realizes, Dunzos. And which brings us to the biggest point of like the thing, I guess, is he has a daughter. So one thing we find out in the beginning scene is that he's whacking it to gay porn. Then we find out he has a daughter. And this is what gives him this whole convoluted backstory and all this pain and drama and all this stuff. So him kind of knowing that he's going to die kind of starts bribing his daughter to come, because he follows her on social media and sees that she's having problems and that kind of stuff. And so it's because someone calls her a dyke, so he feels connected to that. She comes over, and he's going to pretty much bribe her and like do her homework for her, because he really wants her to graduate or whatever. And he knows that she'll never hang out with him unless she's getting paid for it. Which is kind of sad, right? You get that whole thing of like, I'll move my face out of the way so you can see her. There you go. It's a girl from the whatever, that stupid Netflix show. Doesn't matter. Nobody cares. So that sets up their storyline going on. And he's trying to get her to actually do something. Brendan Fraser, then we get this little scene with him. There's a door that he keeps locked, he never goes in, which is obviously very big. A lot of symbolism right there, right? Obviously, what does the door represent? Like a part of, his mind, probably, or something like that. And next scene we have is these two running into each other. So what's very interesting is she's like a complete nihilist and that kind of stuff, and I think it's a very interesting kind of take on what their characters are, like what they represent, or what they're, because I feel like they're both kind of forces in a weird way. I don't know. Like she does a lot of acting out, which can be seen as doing a lot of bad things. Bullying kids, doing that kind of stuff, because she's like doing stuff for attention. This guy, as you find out later, is kind of like lying about that kind of stuff, but he's like trying to be a preacher, and she just kind of like, it seems like she tries to hurt everyone to push them away by like taking pictures of people without their permission, posting them online, and that kind of stuff. And this is his Asian lady friend. So she eventually meets this guy as well. After the first time, they have a conversation. They sit down, they talk about it, and we finally get into the backstory of Brendan Fraserman's character, his connection to this Asian lady, and the connection to the church, which is basically his. Okay. This is basically the entire story, is that he was married to this woman, they had a kid, he's a teacher, he eventually falls in love with one of his students, who's like this guy, and who is a son of a preacher of this like church or whatever. So they leave, which obviously pisses off like his wife and his daughter or whatever. This church excommunicates his like son or whatever, which eventually makes him, I mean, the way they explain it, and it makes him like depressed or whatever. He stops eating, and eventually he self-Minecrafts himself, or he takes himself out or whatever. And they blame the whole, the church for doing that, for discommunicating and whatnot. So she hates the church because of that, and she is his sister. So she understands like everything that happened. So she's friends with Brendan Fraser. She hates her dad and all that kind of stuff. And it's an interesting message I was getting from the movie, because there's a lot of themes I feel like about like kind of religion and belief as well, where this kid comes here under like kind of for all the wrong reasons, but with kind of something pure in his heart, as we find out from his story later down the line, like he's lying too about everything, but he actually does kind of believes in God, and he believes in like trying to do good and stuff like that. And so in that weird way, like he is, he's trying to do good, and kind of I think represents, as we see like how it works out with stuff, like kind of that the force of like belief, while we get like the pragmatism, because their argument they have outside is, he's trying to help him, where he's like saying like, okay, this guy's gonna die, he's definitely gonna die. They're both outside, they're both like acknowledging it, that he's definitely gonna die, and this kid's saying like, well, the chances I've been sent here at this random time to help save this guy when he was going to die then, for him just to live a little bit longer, couldn't be coincidence. So he feels like he's here to try to help him in his last days of, spiritually and that kind of stuff. And she feels in the opposite way of, because she hates all that religion, that kind of stuff, that there is nothing there to help him, and she's really the only one that can help him, because, as like a nurse and stuff, she can take care of like the physical body, and she's kind of denying that aspect of, kind of, I feel like in an effort to, just to deny the whole situation itself. So she tells him never to come back, which of course doesn't happen, but he doesn't like that himself. And then wait, hold on a second. I think that was because they only had that whole thing because she drugged her dad. And so, because he got drugged, something happened wherein the mother got contacted. So this is like kind of like the fifth character, is his ex-wife, the mom. When she's brought into the story, because she finds like the money or whatever that her daughter's getting. And this is where more of that stuff is brought up about their backstory together, that he actually like did love her kind of, or they liked each other and that kind of stuff, and they had good times. And she said this line about like, you're only with me because you wanted a kid, kind of, I guess, saying that he was always gay the whole time, I guess, or something like that, or that maybe she even knew it in a little bit or something, but, while my drum solo just rages on in the background. I should have taken the drum solo songs out of the backing tracks, or out of the track, the music I use in the background. I don't know why, but whatever. So as this goes on, basically this kind of ends up letting us know that where he's coming at from now, knowing like as things are getting further and further down towards the end, that his only goal now is to try to, as he says a couple times, like he wants to do one good thing with his life, and he feels like he kind of ruined everything else, which I guess I could see, like his boyfriend died, he failed up the whole marriage, destroyed himself and that kind of stuff, but he wants to do something for his daughter. An interesting thing I picked up on too was, excuse me, those aren't burps. Those are Himalayan breathing exercises I do to keep myself at maximum IQ. Anyway, something I picked up on too, because when it comes to this idea, I feel like where they toy with like the religion and that kind of stuff, about how much he hates religion, but I feel at the same time I feel like what he's also struggling with is like kind of belief. He wants to believe in something. It's not religion, but he still has this yearning to believe. And so one of the things I think is there to give us this idea of that it's being tested is the thing he wants to believe in is his daughter. And even though he sees like all this terrible stuff she's doing on social media and that kind of stuff, and how she's being treated at school, he sees it more so as she's acting out and that kind of whatnot. He doesn't. I don't think he ever really sees it as her actually being a bad person. He never says he thinks she's a bad person. But one of the good indicators I think we get is that he has this like plate where he feeds like the birds and that kind of stuff, and he like tries to take care of like little animals outside, and it's this little thing that gives him a little bit of joy. And as the movie's going on and getting more and more depressing and sad about this guy's life, we see that this little plate was destroyed. By who? I think one of the only characters we ever see it is his daughter. And I can see it being understandable, right? She wants to destroy something else that he is giving like love and affection towards, like because she never got that from him, or she never felt like that, which of course could be understandable. But at the same time, it's like at this point in the movie too, it's a little bit like this guy has so little, and yet more and more keeps getting taken from him, which I think gives us back to the idea of, a little bit of hope and faith in the end of the movie. And so an interesting part about the movie as well is that during a couple parts of the movie, he's ordering, as many of us fatties do, takeout. And he gets like pizzas a couple times, and it's always the same guy. And as the movie progresses, he kind of like says more and more to this guy through the door. What I was getting from this is kind of the gay thing. I think. I mean, it could just be a human connection thing, but I thought it was more so like kind of like a meet cute thing. Like, who really wants to talk to this dude? And he's kind of like had this little like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of like this little idea of these two guys might like each other, and this was one of the final kind of steps. Was this guy kept asking like, oh, what's your name or whatever, and he never really would open up. And then around this last time, the last time in the movie he orders pizza, the guy's like waiting to see like kind of what he looks like kind of like you think maybe he was like interested in him, or like he doesn't know, but I don't know, because it's like he's always like a regular customer, so you get the idea. But anyway, so then of course he sees he's a big fat man, and kind of like gets disgusted and goes away, which leads Fraserman on a binge eating thing, which was a good scene. I thought it was a little gut wrenching, of him chugging down the pizza and like, who says we can't? None of us have been there before, but not to the point where he throws up, and then that's what he does. After that, things aren't looking too good for our friend, because I think that scene, if that scene was supposed to have that little bit of a gay thing to it, I think that scene was supposed to represent kind of the end of the idea of, I thought that was supposed to be one more thing being taken away from him. The idea of like love or relationships or any possibility of that going anywhere or with anybody at that point. Like, we all it's weird because we all still kind of have that, always have that idea of like, you know, love and fantasy. If you're not with somebody, right, that you think like, oh, I'll meet somebody, oh, this person, you know, something could happen and I won't have to be alone, or, you know, and then to see that, and then to see the rejection, like the look of like, oh my god, you know, I think that's the final breaking point of like that thing being taken away from him too. Finally, of like, nope, there's no more of that you're ever gonna have in your life either. No more like, you know, love, dating, you know, that kind of stuff. It's just gone. With that, he's doing like another class thing, and I think this is the. I don't know if this is the last class he does, but we'll just talk about the whole hidden teaching thing. So he tells him to like, write him something honest, and he basically just does that. Just tells him just to be honest, and he reads out some things that some people wrote about like the stupid thoughts that they just had. He says like these were more important than like any of the essays. Yeah, it's kind of meaningful. Hooba dooba crap. Anyway, about like, you know, be honest, live in the moment, that kind of stuff, which of course, you know, is important. So he turns on his camera, he shows him who he is, and he throws his laptop and he breaks it. Yeah, it's kind of the end of that stuff. And then the end is basically the last day. He's there with the Asian lady that's taking care of him. He starts like talking like you know, getting like weirdo out, and she's like, oh boy, this is it, pretty much you're dying now. And so the end scene of the movie is basically his daughter's there, and he is talking to her, and I mean, they do this thing that they did early in the movie about she wants him to get up and like walk, or she wanted him to get up and walk towards him without the walker to prove that like he loved her. And so at this point in the end of the movie, he gets up, you know, while he's dying, and of course, look at that, with like the sun and stuff. Very angelic. I'm sure. Oh, let me move that. Damn it! I'll put me where the fat guy is. That makes sense. So there, you know, with the sun and everything, looking obviously very angelic, of course. So he gets up and he starts walking towards her because and now he has her reading the poem or the essay that she wrote. Because he was writing her an essay that was due. And she said he was going to write her the best essay, and gave her back an essay she wrote about Ahab or the Moby Dick. And so as she's reading this, you know, he's walking towards her, and he basically just dies. I mean, what they really show is like him walking, and like his feet like lift up, and like show the moment that, because he talked about before that there's a moment that you can't like kind of forget of being at the beach with her and that kind of stuff. And they kind of show that, and that's the end of the movie. And it was, of course, sad, and that kind of stuff. Because basically just kind of like watching a poor thing die, or suffer and then die. There we go, right here. I can put my body out there. But man, I don't know. Did I think it was a good movie? I thought it was touching, you know, with a lot of stuff. And I felt like I had a lot to say. I mean, I like a lot of this guy's movies, but what I thought I was trying to say at the end is that deep down, I think what we're all strive for, what we all kind of want, or what would all come for us in the end, is to know or to feel, like we did something good in our lives, right? Now, how do you know you ever did anything good, right? I think a lot of it is up to kind of like you believe. So one thing I didn't talk about yet, and I guess I'll bring it up now, because I think a lot of this is about his daughter, and trying to believe his daughter is good, right? And his daughter is going to be the one good thing that he does in the world. But the question is his daughter good or not? Which is, you don't know. I mean, I think they leave that door open. Like, she destroyed the bird thing. How her storyline ends with the kid who's like the religious person is, she posts a bunch of stuff about him on the internet, and because he opened up to her about that he was kicked out, or he ran away from a church because he stole money from like his family's church or something like that, and she sent his family like all this information about him to like kind of get him in trouble, and his family just ended up forgiving him and accepting him. So the end, his storyline is he comes back and he's like, you know, he was like thankful for it because he was like, I'm going home actually, and so he goes home to the people who love him because, in a weird way, for him trying to do something good, kind of getting rewarded for it, even though someone. It's kind of up to you. I assume she was trying to do it for negative reasons. She wasn't trying to do it for good reasons, but I guess it's up to you. What do you want to believe? And that's the thing, is I think he, at the end there, he has faith in his daughter, right? And I think that's kind of what it boils down to is, what's good, what do we believe in, what's gonna feel like to set us right, and in the end, and that kind of stuff, and what's really important in life. I mean, one of the weird things about the story is he kind of screws over the Asian lady, because the Asian lady, like I said, was his boyfriend's sister. She lost her brother, but he ends up saving up all this money to just give to his daughter, which makes sense, but he didn't give any to her, which she was kind of screwing herself over the whole time to take care of him. It's like, is he a good person? So I guess, is she a good person? So, unless I'm missing the point, and because the whole thing was about Ahab. The story's called The Whale, right? So almost I'm missing the point of The Whale, right? Because, like, comparing it to what they say, her essay keeps the part that they mentioned about is like how sad it is, and about the saddest parts where they focused on the whale, which is, and I think what that is in the context of the story is kind of like the whale is his trauma and that kind of stuff, right? Like losing the boyfriend and that kind of stuff. And that the more that we focus on that is even kind of sad, because it's not focusing on Ahab, which is really even sad because he's, there, the person, like, how we use our trauma and our pain and stuff to distract us from ourselves, which is, more real, more painful than that. But I don't know. Did a great job acting. I mean, there's only like 5 characters, but good movie. Good movie. Would I recommend it? I would, if you like sad movies, or if you want to watch something that's going to make you feel something for fat people. If you're not fat, you might not feel anything. If you're anorexic, the movie might just be like, Alright, next we're going to talk about The Last of Us. This won't be as long. I'm just going to kind of try to skim over this because McGiff and maybe watching the whole season. I never played the games, so we're going to start off with that. It's going to be a spoiler review, and I never played the games, so I'm going strictly on the show, even though I had a friend who always told me, you got to play the games, they're great, and I bet the games are great, because I bet, like when you watch the show, you're like, man, I really want to hang out and like play in this universe, but you really don't get that much of it in the show. Anyway, so let's bust into this super quick. First 2 episodes, we intro Joel right there, Pedro Pascal, the guy who's getting all the jobs recently that white men should be getting. Anyway, it's just basically intros him and Tess, which is like his domineering waifu boss, and introduce how they eventually meet Ellie, which is they're trying to get enough gas to go do something or other, or who's or what's it, to get the hell out of Dodge, or no, they want a battery for a car, so they get the hell out of there. All the deals going haywire and whatnot, and the Fireflies, we're going to get them something for something or whatever, and then there's a whole shootout, and then they give Tess and Joel Ellie for like the battery or whatnot, so they have to transport her across and they give her the whole spiel like she's immune or some bullshit like that, like, oh, this is the cure finally or something, because I guess I should explain somewhat. It's like a zombie apocalypse story, but it's like plant zombies, so like fungus zombies. They explain it a little bit in the show, but actually you'd be surprised how little it actually matters in the show. So they kind of steamroll through that, which that could have been a lot longer in the show. I would have actually liked to see more of that kind of stuff with it's not the Federation, what were they called, the Fedra or whatever. I would have liked to see more kind of stuff there, because they talk about how evil they are, but basically the show does a good job showing like all the human factions kind of being poopy. The Fireflies, apparently they're supposed to be good guys. I don't know. You did a terrible job showing me that show. So anyway, they got to take her across country. Basically, the episode 2 ends with Tess getting bit. She dies. And then it's just Joel and Ellie, and he's all like, "Oh, my girl died for this little thingy-majigger," and whatever. So, then we go to episode 3, which is the gay episode. Oh, don't worry, there's 2 of those. And this is Ron Swanson getting gay with some other dude, which was very strange. There was a quote from a I think it was the director, was like, "Oh, he tricked conservative people into watching a gay drama," or something. It's like, man, you just wasted people's time, because unfortunately, unless one of those characters comes back, which I don't think they are, because they're both supposed to be dead, that whole episode was such a waste of time. Unless seeing gay people is never a waste of time to you. Which, see, people in general is usually a waste of time to me, with their clothes on at least. So it doesn't really make a difference if they're gay or not. It's just kind of pointless and stupid. Because, like, if it was just a drama between a man and a woman, too, just for, oh my god, Chance, just for, like, 40 minutes so they could get a car at the end of the episode. Like, no, still stupid, still pointless, still I don't care. Now, 2 ladies. Anyway, the next couple episodes were basically them traveling across country. A couple things happen. They meet, like, Black Boy and Black Dad, and I forget what really happens there, but basically... Oh no, what happens there is we see more zombies. We barely see any zombies in this. We see, like, 1 or 2 cool ones, but, like, man, the zombies were the coolest part of the show. They barely gave us any. It was such a waste, because of, like, they got, like, weird fungus zombies, like... Be exploiting that. Make that the whole show. Cut, yeah, whatever. And they get across a whole country, the United States. Like, a couple episodes, man. Dumb. It would take more than a couple episodes to get across the Fallout map. Come on, man. Anyway. What another weird thing I noticed was that there's a lot of, like, weird, strong female leaders in the post-apocalypse. I mean, you'd think with, like, how when society breaks down, you know, there's a lack of things like, you know, contraception and stuff like that, that a lot of women would end up kind of back to where we were with being pregnant lots of the times, or, you know, relegated to those kind of womanly duties. I don't know. That and post-apocalypse means if they piss off a man, the man could just kill her and get away with it. Like, there's no law, is there? Anyway, I just thought that was weird. There's a lot of strong boss ladies in this show, all over the place. And then Joel gets shot, and there's an episode with him getting all, I don't know, I'm dying. And Ellie injecting drugs into his wound and having a flashback of her own gay love story, which is very strong and brave and powerful and not gay at all. Which ends in her getting bit and finding out that she's like immune or some crap like that. Then we get to the end of the season where I think this is one of the differences from the game and the show is like they show that she's immune because her mom got bit when she was giving birth and cut, I don't know, the umbilical cord at the right time or some crap like that. Like, she fought the zombie while giving birth, killed the zombie, and whatever. And that's why she's immune? Which is interesting. I would have probably preferred just like a random mutation because that's way more rare and special. But, so that's why we find out that, and then that basically that last episode is a lot like what I've heard from the end of the game, which is they're kind of just having fun, walking around. You see the giraffe, and they get like kidnapped by the fireflies. And in a weird turn of events, for some reason, the fireflies, are like trying to be good guys and bad guys at the exact same time, and make both mistakes. Like, okay, so they got Joel, like they knocked them both out for some reason somehow. They took Ellie, and they're gonna do the operation on her, try to figure out like, ooh, what's going on with her brain? We're gonna save everybody. It's gonna kill her though. And they tell Joel this, and they give him a chance to do something about it. Like, why? They're like, well, you know what? Okay, so this girl went all the way here with that, you know, Tess died for, like, and this is the same lady who was there, so she knows that, or whatever. She knows Tess ain't dead. Anyway, she's gonna just let him walk away with like 2 dudes. Well, why not just put a bullet in his brain from the first place? Like, this is, again, post-apocalypse. These, like, so they're trying to make these Firefly people out at the end of the show. Like, oh, they're actually good guys. No. Nobody's a good guy. They should have just shot him and been done with the whole thing. There we go. They would have been able to cut open this stupid... There we go. Next slide, please. They would have been able to cut this stupid lady's face and secure the whole zombie thing. But no, Joel. You had to do your stupid butthole shit. I don't know. I mean, I know the game ends that way, but I thought that was just stupid, just overall. Not enough zombies. Action was okay, but the end action scene too was kind of lame. Of like, would have much preferred it shot differently. The whole like quiet and him just mowing down people like with no problem. It's like, oh, look how cool and badass he is. Instead of it being like, wow, this looks like, you know, when you see somebody play through a video game that they've played a million times and they know where everyone's going to spawn from. It doesn't look badass because they're not struggling. It looks kind of like they just know the hacks. I don't know. Didn't give me the jimmies I wanted. So he busts in there. He shoots the surgeon, which is going to be the lady's dad, who's going to kill him later with the golf club. So we all know that's going to happen. And they walk on out of there, and they have a good old happy life until the part 2 happens. I don't know. I thought the show was definitely overhyped, overrated. It was like subpar. It was It was fine. Like, I've seen better Stargate episodes. It's just that it looked great. Fine for that. That's great. Look great all you want. I want that. Everyone wants that. That's fantastic. The whale looked great. Look at that beautiful fat man. But this, I don't know, it was so cardboard. It's like, if without... Imagine without even the video game there, man, there'd be so little they would have had anything to pull. It would have just been like a cardboard cutout. But it's delicious normie bait, so I guess give it a watch if you want something that you'll averagely enjoy and you really just can't hate, I guess, so. Alright. I'm done with this shit. The Last of Us. Ugh. Oh my god, what am I doing? Okay, let's be done with this shit. You know, I'm just gonna delete all this shit. I don't want this on my computer anymore. It's disgusting. I want it. Alright, here we go. Let's read a little bit of article here. Alright, we're going to read a little bit of an article here from The Economist because I am fancy. Hold on, let me get my fancy drugs. It's nicotine, so it's good for me. It's not bad. No, whatever. An autistic man was surfing the internet on his dad's sofa. Then the FBI turned up. So I'm very interested in this story, as we could probably all tell, because I assume I'm going to be the autistic man one day when the FBI show up. My poor girlfriend will have to be the dad in this scenario. And that is a situation I do not envy. The criminal justice system isn't ready for those wired to see the world differently. So I'm going to see if I can blast through this a little bit, but if you read Brandon Fleury, a story when he was 3, he recited back to you word by word. His father, Patrick, then a professional tennis coach, was both bemused and impressed by his physically awkward son. He would tell people about Brandon's capacity for mimicry. Eventually, he found himself explaining it to a jury. Bum, bum, bum. Brandon had a tough childhood. One night, when he was 5, lying in bed with his mother, she had a pulmonary embolism and died. Oh, jeez. He was lying in bed with her? That's pretty fucked up. The father became a single full-time dad to Brandon, and his younger brother... Whatever, I'm sorry. Brandon was always needed extra attention, but after his wife died, he began to pick up on more unusual elements of his son's behavior. A girl from the neighborhood would pull him around in a wagon like he was a puppy. Nothing wrong with that. Make the woman do all the work. Brandon seemed uneasy with it and yet unable to articulate his discomfort. At their home in Santa Ana, California, of course. Californians. Dirty, nasty, nasty, nasty Californians. He would repeat phrases and questions over and over again. Oh boy, sounds like me a little bit. And open and shut doors repeatedly. Thank God I don't do that. Sometimes he would flush the toilet 30 times in a row, giggling. I mean, was there a spider in there or something? Because I could see, doing that if you had to. Doctors diagnosed Brandon with attention deficit disorder, then attention deficit hyperactivity disorder when he was 7. They added obsessive compulsive disorder and Asperger's syndrome to the list. Again, could be, this actually could be my brother, not me, but we'll see. Then tried to help Brandon regulate his behavior, but nothing the doctor suggested. Therapy, medication, and teaching assistant seemed to make a difference. He taught his son at home for a while, then sent him to high school, which turned out to be a disaster. Yeah, it's about high school. Desperate to be accepted, Brandon became the plaything of a group of bullies he believed were his friends. They took his money, beat him up. They would mess with him in every imaginable way. They'd make him a fool they'd make a fool of him, Fleury says. He didn't know any better. Brandon dropped out before his final year. That's a shame. They say if you get that final year, you're pretty much good. After that, the family seemed to find a rhythm. Brandon came across as several years younger than he was and would often lose himself in repetitive rituals, such as washing his hands. But he was self-reliant enough to walk to town and back, cook himself meals in the microwave. At night, Fleury sent the burglary alarm with a motion detector so that he'd know if his son started to wander off. Brandon seemed to like staying in his bedroom and didn't mind being monitored. Yeah. That sounds like when I was younger, man, I don't know, I was fine with that kind of stuff. My mom, probably smoking weed and that kind of stuff, too. That was no good. But still, monitor away, whatever. As long as I get my video games, what did I care? Please don't hurt him, shouted as some slid away. He's got problems. I can hear that in my girlfriend's voice. Please don't hurt him. He's got problems. Well, he's got a lot of problems. Chunky. Brandon spent most of his days sitting on the couch at home, listening to music and surfing the internet. Fleury didn't really know what his son was doing online, but Brandon seemed to enjoy the escape from socializing in person, and his father was happy for him to have that. Brandon never said thank you or hello, never told anyone that he loved them, but he appeared content. Non-stop smiles. Probably because he's looking at boobies. I gotta put that from the down. One morning in 2019, when Brandon was 21, Fleury woke up to flashing lights outside and loud banging on the front door. He ran to open it. FBI agents were on the other side. They immediately put him in handcuffs. Brandon wouldn't come out of his room, so the FBI set off an explosive device and eventually extracted him. I'm masturbating here. Don't you dare come in here. Look, sir. If you don't get off, we'll have to come in there and get you off. It's not about, where the FBI understands. It's like, okay, so we're here to get you. And we're not going to take you till you get off. But we're not going to let you just stay in there until you get out. We're going to blow this door open. We're going to get you. We're going to get in there. We're going to get you off, and then we're going to get you out. That's why they're the boys in blue. Anyway, they extracted him. Please don't hurt him. The FBI had been led to Brandon's door by a trail of disturbing social media messages. Oh no. I'm gonna have to get off minds.com. Oh no. Brandon had created several Instagram accounts under different aliases. See, this is the thing. It's always like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The major ones, Anyway, most of these account names, Nicholas the Murderer, I don't like it, it's my name, seem to refer to Nicholas Cruz, a teenager who had shot dead 17 students and staff member at a high school in Parkland, Florida in early 2018. Later that year, Brandon used these accounts to unleash a torrent of abuse at some of the friends and family members of those Cruz had murdered. Oh my god. Okay, so it sounds like this kid was going... it sounds like this kid was so autistic, he didn't understand what a joke is, right? And that trolling is funny at a certain level, and so he was trolling like dead people, okay, like dead family members, which isn't funny, but I could see how an autistic person might not get that. I killed your sister, he wrote to the brother of one of the victims. It was fun. She had her whole life ahead of her, and I fucking stole it from her. Jesus Christ, this kid's bad. Holy fuck. To Max S-word, whatever, whose son Alex was killed, he wrote, "Little Alex S. will never play music again." That sounds like something Freddy Krueger would say. The message is poured out, sometimes several in a minute. I killed your loved ones. Your grief is my joy. I give them no mercy. I'm kidnapping you, fool. Oh, this is an amazing article. I'm glad I found this. This is... Okay. If the FBI had, like, the access to our BNet chats, ooh, we would have gotten into some trouble there, too. I mean, come on, the stuff we would say... I'm pretty sure there's been once or twice we typed out in person, "I will rape you in real life." Like, it's a joke, obviously. But, you know, you just got ganked in Dota and you're mad. So, I mean, this is obviously, it feels like, different, but it also feels like a retarded kid who doesn't know the difference between a joke and it's not a joke. Fleury had no knowledge of any of this when he opened the door to the FBI. He was shocked, nauseous, but assumed that whatever the problem was, it would be cleared up quickly. He knew Brandon would answer questions truthfully. He didn't even contact a lawyer. There's your first mistake, buddy. Autismo delismo spectrum disorder, the clinical term for autismo delismo, is a complex brain condition affecting how people understand the world and interact with it. It can be detected from toddlerhood, which is an excuse for why they didn't catch it in me. I was never a toddler. I went right to little man baby. 1 in 44 American 8-year-olds have a diagnosis, which means in theory you'll find at least one autistic child in every 2 school classes. Unless they weed them out. Teachers researchers still can't say exactly what autism is. Vaccines. There's no biological test or scans for it. It is not a purely genetic disorder like Fragile X syndrome. The diagnostic criteria are broad and vague, clustering around difficulties in social communication and interaction and repetitive behaviors. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these deformities or something, or like mutations or something like that, are almost a part of evolution in some weird way. You know, like, I don't know, you know, like they find like, you know, the whole like being gay and stuff like that is biological and whatnot, so it's like, you don't know, like, if there is evolutionary purposes, some of this weird crap that we just don't know about because, you know, we're stupid Monkeg. Behind these gene realities lie a range of complex symptoms and vary significantly between person to person. Some conflict with each other. Lack of fear and excess fear, for instance, are both associated with the condition. So is depression. Other potential signs include inability to understand others' emotions and trouble interpreting facial expressions. Right there, buddy. Some autistic people lead fully independent and professional, successful lives. Others will learn to talk. Oh, others will never learn to talk. Okay, my bad. You know, talking is overrated, quite honestly. Don't talk. You know, I bet some of the best girlfriends in the world are people who don't. I'm kidding. It's a joke. Yeah, I gotta have some more beer. Anyway. Autismo delismo wasn't identified as a specific disorder until 1943. Is this all just gonna be about the history of autism? I don't need to hear that. As Brandon's family discovered, however, one institution that has struggled to embrace neurodiversity in its criminal justice system. Neither Britain nor America routinely measure the rate of autism in prisons, but the limited evidence available suggests that it is slightly higher than among the general population. A small study of nearly 500 male prisoners in America in 2012 estimated that 4.4% of them met the criteria for a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, compared with 3.6 in the wider male population. That's not a huge difference, though. Like, that's not like autistic people are flooding the jails. That's like one extra one. An even smaller survey of male prisoners in Scotland found even smaller. You want bigger surveys, not smaller ones. In 2018, found that 9% exhibited autistic traits. 9%? That's shockingly low for a country like Scotland. Shockingly low for Scotland. Should be at least in the double digits. Anyway. I'll go for a little bit longer until I'm done with this article. But there's no evidence of a criminal tendency associated with autism. If anything, autistic people tend to be scrupulous about following rules, which is why they love Warhammer 40k. But a condition that makes it hard to read social cues puts people at risk for committing, or being accused of committing, some specific crimes, and makes it harder for them to navigate interactions with police and prosecutors when that happens. Some autism experts say that they are seeing a growing number of people with the condition caught up in online crime, but as victims, both as victims and accused. Well, there's reasons for that. The social norms of the internet are hard to parse, even for those who are neurotypical. Who's neurotypical, though? I don't know. The problem with trying to make the system fairer, says Benedict Nevis Saunders, is an expert in medical health and criminal justice or criminal law, is that autistic people don't always fit neatly into the categories, and that the law wants people to fit into it. Little about autism is clear cut, except for the fact that they got autism. What am I drinking? Two Roads, cloud sourced. Buy local beer, people. The very least you can do. Where am I? The concept of criminal justice rests on the fundamental practice that we are responsible for our own behaviors. Are we? I thought CRT was kind of doing away with that. Any exceptions to this are narrowly defined. In England and Wales, as well as most American states, the threshold for a successful defense based on a defendant's mental state, the insanity defense, is largely shaped by the 19th century English murder trial, in which the judge told the jury that the defendant could not be acquitted if he suffered from a defect for reason. Could be acquitted if he suffered from a defect of reason. That is not helpful to autistic defendants, who typically don't lack basic intellectual capacity. So we fall right in that juicy little medium there where we not retarded enough. Goddamn. It's my whole life, you know. Privileged, not privileged enough. White, not white enough. Fat, not fat enough. Retarded, not retarded enough. I'll show them. I'll get way more retarded. We'll see who's laughing then. Even if a defense lawyer did convince a jury that the autistic client met this criterion, the outcome wouldn't necessarily be desirable. Doririus McCollum, I'm guessing it's a black person, no reason, an autistic man who was fascinated by New York City's transit system, was arrested on multiple occasions over a 30-year period for impersonating transit staff in driving their bus or subway routes, and doing the job fairly well as it happened. Oh, that also makes me think that this person's black because they're going to great lengths to defend them. In 2015, he was charged with stealing a Greyhound bus. Ooh, that's bad. The judge accepted his plea, but not guilty by reason of insanity based on his autism, but sent him indefinitely to a mental institution. I'm not going to say the things I want to say. A diagnosis of autism may affect questions about criminal intent. If a lawyer can show that the defendant didn't appreciate the consequences of what's going on. See, this is all going into the law shit. I want to know what's going on with the family. Hold on. All right. When Fleury first heard about the messages, he couldn't square them with the happy-go-lucky son he knew. It made a bit more sense when he heard Brandon's account of what happened. His son admitted to almost everything straight away. Giving up too easy, buddy. Too easy. Brandon told a federal investigator that he'd been inspired by an internet troll. See, I told you! An internet troll named Nick Sorvenda, who went by the name Lynn Ann. Lynn Ann was obsessed with one of the Columbine high school shooters and achieved a small amount of fame online by posting messages on social media about how ugly the shooter's victims had been. Brandon's messages to the Parkland... That's a weird... I wonder where he found that community. That's very strange. Where did he find Lynn Ann anywhere? These, like... places people get to. Like, man, I'm on fucking 4chan, I don't see this shit. You know, I go to 8chan, some of this shit, like... I don't know. Maybe it's out there. Maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe this is what happens when you're employed. I don't know. Anyway. Just really weird shit. Brandon's message to the Parkland victims' families had been pure bullshit trolling. Yep. Like Lynn Ann's, he told the investigators, Brandon said he'd been interested in internet trolls because they were popular. I mean, get it? You know, you look back in his... I mean, I'm sure they're going to talk about it. Back in his life, he was bullied by people, and it made him popular, or, like, got him attention. The bullies were getting attention, so in his mind, he's like, well, just extrapolate it. On the internet, I'll bully people, I can get attention, just like in the schoolyards and that kind of shit, so... No. Chunky! Oh, my God. There's no room for you. Fleury knew how much his son yearned to be popular, or at least socially accepted. He knew about his tendency to repeat phrases from something he was immersed in. After seeing Daredevil, a superhero movie, he kept saying, "Hey orphan, let's play." A taunt used by one of the characters. It was the same with Shark Tale. It made sense to Fleury that Brandon would mimic the language and behavior of internet trolls without really understanding them. An expert on autism hired by the defense gave a similar assessment to the court. Oh my God. No! Kitty! Get out of here. There you go. Okay. Sorry, that was Chunkers. The prosecution pointed out that Brennan's messages didn't simply copy Lynn Ann's phrases. They were crafted with specific information about the victims and made ongoing threats. Brandon maintained that he didn't intend to hurt or scare people, but to annoy them. When a psychiatrist hired by the prosecution asked if he was trying to cause the victims anguish, Brandon responded, "What's anguish? What's anguish? It's not something I know. What is it?" See? I mean, so does this kind of fall into, like, I don't know, right? Non-compos mentis? I don't know. Because it doesn't really understand. I don't know, but... The law leaves plenty of scope for a jury to ignore a defendant's understanding of their actions, and Brandon's lawyers ultimately failed to convince them that his case should hinge on this. The trial took place just down the road from hearings about Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland shooter, and the trauma... Oh my God, this kid went to jail, didn't he? Even the judge in Brandon's case suggested that his cyber-stalking trial was an opportunity for the Parkland's family to find closure. Oh, this guy was Alex Jones. What a tragedy. Fallen heroes, man. Prosecutors painted Brandon as someone who might well have gone on to commit mass murder himself if he hadn't been caught. I highly doubt that. They went over his messages in detail to demonstrate the distress he had caused. Let me read this again for the jury and for the victim. Did that cause you distress? Let me read it one more time. Has it caused you distress yet? They went over his, because it's the same thing of like, yeah, it caused distress, but you know, a lot of these sites now, it's like when somebody you're not friended with sends you a message, it goes to a different file anyway. We don't have to look at it. So I don't know, whatever. They brought people like Fred Guttenberg to the stand, a man whose daughter had been killed in Parkland, whose son had received messages from Brandon. Guttenberg spoke about the terror his family felt. Which, I get it. You know, I get that perspective, too, from the family. Like, that's bullshit. You probably think there's some psycho murderer out there, right, who's coming to get you. When really it's just some super autismo delismo, man. Have you ever also contemplated that it could have also been a punk teenager who wanted to just annoy you? A defense lawyer asked. My ability to contemplate a punk teenager utilizing social media in this way and not acting on it ended on February 14th. Valentine's Day. No. Like, what a little, like, bitch, man. Like, I get it, right? I mean, okay, maybe I'm missing, I'm not going to spend time looking that up now, but maybe there was a bunch of stuff about the Parkland shooting that had to do with him utilizing social media, but not that I remember. Maybe there was, but again, it's like saying, you know, I saw him in a car, so I knew he was going to use the car to murder somebody. You know, it's like, you don't understand how many, okay, out of all the interactions that take place on the internet every day, the billions of them, how many of them don't end in murder? It's like, most of them. So, this is kind of just, they brought, you know, this is the bullshit part about our legal system, which I hope people can see through sometimes, that they could just bring hurt people up on the stand just to try to get somebody sent away, you know? They're going to say whatever they want. Which really, I really feel like there's got to be something in this country, man. We got to go back to just punishing people for lying on the stand. Doesn't feel like we do. Doesn't feel like there's no point. I mean, I think a big part of that is because nobody believes in God anymore, so they don't care if they lie under God, or under the country. Prosecutors emphasized Brandon's apparent sexual interest in What? Okay. Wasn't ready for that. Prosecutors emphasized Brandon's apparent sexual interest in mass murderers, perhaps to make Brandon appear dangerous by association. He had told the FBI that he had fantasies about Cruz, the Parkland shooter, like sexual ones. One of his Instagram aliases referred to Ted Bundy, a notorious serial killer. I mean, there's like a shit ton of accounts. One prosecutor used the term serial killer 6 times in his closing argument, and Ted Bundy 12 times. The jury found Brandon guilty on all counts. Oh boy. Yep. It sucks. I know, honestly, I feel like this story should be more about how, like, when there's a tragedy, they can use that to unfairly punish people who have, like, barely anything to do with it, you know? I mean, there is something to be said there, but they don't want to, you know, that's too close to defending maybe Alex Jones or something like that. For autistic people, which I think Alex Jones is probably one of those people, prison is a special kind of punishment. Bright lights, noise, and the relentless presence of other people are overwhelming for me. Oh my god. I'm not sure if I can go into too much of what it's going to be like in prison for the retarded person, because I have a feeling it's not going to be good. And it's probably going to have a lot to do with retard rape. Anyway, so we'll skip down. A few weeks before Brandon was sentenced, another federal case involving an autistic defendant was wrapping up in Chicago. This too had begun with a raid by FBI agents were after a man they thought was behind a huge market manipulation scheme that briefly wiped out about $1 trillion off American stock markets in 2010. What the bungos is that? What they found in the London suburb in Hounslow was a hoodie-wearing video game addict who lived with his parents, had a bedroom full of stuffed animals, and paid for his meals in McDonald's with coupons. When Navidir Sarao was extradited to America on the plane journey, he excitedly questioned the FBI agent accompanying him about his cool job. The charges against Sarao were serious. He was accused of a giant fraud. There was no lack of evidence. He had even recorded some of his own trading activity, providing an ample record to prosecutors, which This is what I do here by providing a lovely record for the prosecutors so they can come. He had even record. Okay, yeah. Yet his story had a drastically different outcome to Brandon's. I wonder. Could it be because he's English? Could it be because... I don't know. Roger, whatever, his lawyer, said it was obvious from the first meeting in the jail that Sorrow was different. Clients all want to know the same thing. What's going to happen? How will you fix this? He recalled. Prosecutors were talking about a 200-year prison sentence, and Sorrow was asking his lawyer things like what New York is like and how many hours a week I work. This guy sounds awesome. Yeah, I mean, he's making small talk. He called in a Berlin game, called in Simon Baron Cohen, the mega Jew. He called in the biggest Jew in all of New York. One of Britain's, Britain's biggest Jew. Foremost psychologist who assessed Sorrow and spoke to those closest to him. To Sorrow's family, he was just Nav, a quirky, solitary math whiz who had aced his degree. So what if he played video games for so long and that he became one of the highest scorers in FIFA football? He was a FIFA person? That's what those people are. Or forgot to take off his bike helmet before he sat down to the desk to work. Oh, come on, that's not real. No, that's a meme. They never thought that might be part of a medical condition. He likes the helmet. Just let him wear it. It was clear to the Mega Jew, however, that Sorrow's behavior went beyond quirkiness. He was sensitive to lights to the point where he hung blankets over the bedroom window. I don't like lights either. He still loved his stuffed toy tiger. Do I have any stuffed toys around here? I don't know. He could be astonishingly blunt, telling his sister-in-law that her baby looked like a Garbage Pail Kid. Pulling his collection of Garbage Pail Kids cards to reinforce the point. Wow. I kind of sound like Joe a little bit there, my brother. Calling somebody ugly straight to their face. I mean, Sorrow had an unusual eye for an unusual number of patterns. How many fingers am I holding up? Sorrow had a unusual eye for numbers and patterns. When he started the scheme that led to his arrest, he was working for one of London's trading arcades? Interesting. Shared facilities used by self-employed traders for free. Okay. As competitive about stocks as he is about video games, Sorrow became obsessed with the market. Sometimes he'd work for 2 days straight without sleep. I don't care about this kid's life. I always want to know how long this retard was sent away for. By the time Sorrow was sentenced in 2020, wow, that was a while from when his crime took place, in like 2011 or 2010 it said. So just remember, when you're committing a crime, they're still coming for you. It just hasn't happened yet. They'll get you. He'd met prosecutors 10 times to explain spoofing and served as a witness in other cases involving it. Prosecutors had noticed Sorrow's inability to maintain eye contact and his tendencies to obsess over certain issues. They'd also benefited from an extraordinarily detailed presentation on spoofing. In a highly unusual move, they requested the judge give him no prison time. Oh, because he was a useful retard? That's not fair. Sorrow, because he wasn't near Parkland, had nothing to do with the shooting, didn't make people mad. Nobody was too mad, so he didn't go to jail. So, basically, to wrap this all up, if you're a lucky retard, if you're a good retard with the good stuff, kind of like everything else, right? You got a little bit of privilege, you don't go to jail. If you're unlucky, you said the wrong things and you're around people who are mad at you, you're going to go to jail. So, just a little note for you people out there. You're going to jail. So, probably shut up. That's for me, specifically. Alright, now here we go to the final segment of the night. I don't know what I'm looking for. All I know, I got some jokes. I'm gonna say some things. We're gonna do some regrets about them things. I'm gonna say no things. I'm going to look you in the eyes and say nothing for a while. Well, welcome to jokes. Here we go. So let's start with. Here we go. I'll start with this page. I got some real zingers that were sent in to me from the internet. I didn't write any of these. None of these are my fault. You can't blame me for any of these. I take no responsibility for these. These were written by a psychopath, a dangerous man, probably someone who is beautiful in their own way. But we'll forgive them, all right? So, whatever. I recently saw the hit movie The Whale recently. I was disappointed that they weren't able to get an actual 500-pound man to play the overweight, pathetic, titular character. Though they were able to get Brendan Fraser, a mostly pathetic man. So they made good on that. He just wasn't fat enough. Which, Anyway, International Women's Day was March 8th. Like we could ever forget about women. They would never let us. I think all food is better out of a can, personally. That's probably why dogs and cats get so worked up for wet food. There's something to it. I'm telling you. There's something to it. We don't like dog food jokes here? Is this not what we do? I like cat food jokes. When I was a kid, I once tried... Anyway, depending how the indictment goes, it looks like Trump could maybe possibly see jail time. I'm not sure what that would do for the country politically, but I do know one thing. It would make one of the best reality shows of all time. Yeah, probably. This is good music for this next one. Sex in a car is great when you're younger. When you can still do things like bend and fit places. I don't know if it's true or not, but I feel like my loads were less nasty when I was younger. I'm getting like these old nasty old man loads. I don't know what's going on. The Last of Us was a show recently with a father-daughter dynamic. Not to be confused with The Last to Nut, which has more of a stepfather, stepdaughter, leather bondage dynamic. Chunkers, did you write that? Chunky, why would you write real fantasy movies about women doing math and the Holocaust? I got nothing to follow that up with except for yay. Okay, anyway. Researchers looked into it and found that an overwhelming majority of of occupants at women's prisons were in fact women. Shocking, yes, but I'm sure there's a man somewhere to blame for it. Recently, the Department of Energy and other agencies have come out and said that the lab leak hypothesis, that is the hypothesis that COVID was leaked from a lab in China, is the most likely origin of COVID-19. In other words, duh. Until we finally find out what I Hate Mondays is code for. Those fucking Mondays. Always stealing my women. Anyway, my mom says the purpose of a vacation is to vacate. Much like shitting. I think that was a joke I wrote on vacation. Alright. Okay, not screwing around here anymore. We got the good jokes coming up, alright? These are the ha-has. The hee-hees and the hoo-hoos. News out of Spain. It is now legal to have intercourse with an animal as long as you don't hurt it. Also news out of Spain. Sex without pain is apparently possible. I forgot. I didn't write that. I don't know who wrote that, but I should have read ahead on that one. I'm counting emotional. Yeah, do they count emotional pain? I'm sure those animals are feeling something there. At least, like, why don't they love me like that anymore? Anyway, another thing in the news is the East Palestine train disaster, marking not only the first time the Republicans have cared about the environment, but also the first time the Democrats are mad that the Republicans care about the environment. But really, it was probably done by the Jews. They were probably standing there after that like, oh shit, you meant that Palestine. Oof. Yeah. About that. A little off. Anyway, if trans women... Oh boy. No good sentence starts with if trans women are women, then why can't I hit them? I think I've done that joke before. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Because I can. Because I'm trans. So it's fine. I'm a trans man. My girlfriend will back me up on that. The existence of trans women has probably lowered the overall occurrences of rape. I mean, some of those would-be rapists are probably worried they'll be unlucky and draw the Uno reverse card. I mean, if somebody is going to rape you, you probably are entitled to a little sexual self-defense, aren't you? Little rapo defenso. March is Women's History Month. Finally, we can figure out what women is and where did it come from. I may have one or two more women jokes, but I'm almost done. We're going to wrap up soon. All right. Yeah, I'll start with the bad jokes. I don't care. I'm going to... Some say variety is the spice to life. I say mayo is the spice to life. As a white man, I would say that. Also, we had daylight savings happen recently. Spring forward. But what a stupid... But what a stupid concept that is. Save on daylight? Hello? Daylight is free. Like, give it the picture. Actor Jonathan Majors, the amazing Jonathan Majors, has been arrested for assaulting a woman. Meanwhile, the waiter, Johnny Miners, has been ticketed for doing kind of rude things to a lady. That's one of those just for Nick jokes that only Nick really understands. It's not really funny. Anyway. Women's History Month, ? I thought we weren't supposed to ask about that. I mean, a whole month of slut-shaming? I love hating women as much as the next guy, but I feel that that's excessive. 3 weeks should be enough. That's all I need. I get it, I usually get it out of my system by then. Also in the news recently, a female-to-male transgender person shot up a Christian school. Reports from the scene said that the shooter ran like a girl, but killed like a man. That's very distasteful of a joke, but whatever. Nobody sees this anyway. Mike and Ike. A terrible name for a terrible candy. Exactly what I want to think about when I'm trying to enjoy sweets. An unreasonably attractive gay couple. The sucking, the fucking, the dicking, the licking. I'll stick to my Twinkies, thank you very much. And now for a completely different voice. USB stands for Universal Serial Bus. What it should stand for is unplug, spin it around, buy yourself some time before everyone finds out USB is full of horse porn. Nobody needs to know about that. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Ain't that true, folks? Ain't that true? You've heard that before. I know you have. There's truth to that. Nowadays, there's young adults cutting off their sexy bits, their boobies, their pee-pees, their wee-wees, whatever. Back in my day, there were girls who cut themselves on their arms and their legs. I guess the only thing that's really changed is where the cutting is taking place. What's really important is that somewhere out there, girls are still being harmed. The important thing. The important things that matter. Why does Gatorade have to make both the perfect bottle for peeing in and also the perfect product that looks like pee? Probably made by Germans. The perfect form of function and design and pee. Alright, last two. What am I at? An hour and a half? Oh, wait, whatever. Alright. Speaking of that, getting peed on is a weird fetish. How do you even bring that up? Or when you bring a girl home and she sees your bedroom has linoleum floors, she just gets the hint, or what? That's kind of an unfinished joke, but there's a lot of meat in there. That's like one piece of bread, but like a shit ton of meat. Like this, I'll figure it out. And to top that off, it would be cool if in the future you could just like change your brain with technology to change your fetish to whatever you wanted. I would pick not getting off to be my fetish, to see if I could get myself... I would choose not getting off to be my fetish, to see if I could get myself stuck in a getting off loop. Talk about man-made horrors. And talk about man-made horrors, those would be the jokes. The jokes of the horrors, alright? Well, thanks for sticking around for another episode of Fat, Dumb, and Angry Live and Chucky's. Chucky, get out of here, Chucky! Chucky, going after the stuff. Anyway, thanks for hanging out and checking out the things and the jokes. What am I working on? I got a new song coming out probably next week. Probably not this weekend, but maybe I'll push it off till next week. Probably make another couple drum videos coming out. Like I said, I'm telling myself I'm going to work on that Invincible Armor video. Maybe tomorrow morning I'm just going to sit down, power it out for 2 hours, and just be done with it or something. Whatever.